AskReddit by Dropter. Women of Reddit, what was something you didn't know about men till you got with one? Morning wood. Had absolutely no idea that shit just pops up every night till I started dating my first boyfriend. It's basically bias. Checking on the basic stuff before the software in our brain turns on. NRBs, no reason boners. Like, it just happens? For no reason? Wild. What is it, boy? Do you see something? That when they need to go to the store they just go straight to that item and then pay and leave. It's something I need to learn, lol. This only works if the store is not a hardware store or a sporting goods store or some hobby store. I mean, sure, if it's a pharmacy and I want shaving cream, that's what I'll get. If I'm in Home Depot and I need some glue, I'll spend half an hour in the cordless power tool aisle, then wander over to the garden section, then wander back through the grills. I'll leave with the glue and a set of drill bits and a new screwdriver set. That whole thing about the way to their heart being their stomach? Accurate. I once hooked up with a guy I met on Tinder, made him breakfast the next morning. He said no woman had ever cooked for him before, looked teary, and now we're married. I made my ex a Snickers cheesecake for Valentine's Day and he stayed with me for 3 more months despite not even liking me that much. They keep a significant amount of thoughts to themselves. Edit, holy moly. I just woke up and I cannot even get through all these. When I actually get up for the day I'm going to though. Seems the general consensus is it's saving something not telling their thoughts, or men are conditioned to keep it in. This is so upsetting. Let me say to anyone keeping quiet in your relationship, I promise you the right person wants to know how you feel. Emotions are hard enough. You shouldn't have to go through them alone. Sometimes yes. Sometimes, well, never mind. How rarely they get complimented. I told my guy that I loved his shirt and he didn't even know what to say. He told me he couldn't remember the last time someone complimented him, so I've started looking for little, random things to compliment him on. A coworker told me that black jeans look good on me, so now those are my default instead of blue. That the bowel sack physically moves around and you can see when it gets looser or tightens. It's super fascinating to look at, you can also feel it. And the man can't control it. Edit, it happens based on temperature. Edit 2, I think we should all just agree to call this the lava lamp effect. I trust my balls to know what state they need to be in. They seem to be handling things well enough so far. How different a penis can look soft vs erect. And how much it can shrink in the cold. Our balls can literally retract if it's cold enough. One time as a younger man I thought I lost them. How much fun they having building stuff together. Hey, I'm installing shelves in the garage. Want to come over? And my husband is running out the door. Most of them are way into cuddling and having their heads rubbed. Scratch my back with longish fingernails and I am in heaven. That balls don't typically hang at the same level, one is a little lower than the other. All those dick doodles have lied to me. Yes. I had to explain this to my wife, then I also had to explain to her that very few women have 2 breasts the same size. She had always been self-conscious about it. See my username, I've seen many. How much trauma they tend to accept as simple facts of life. Definitely made me more invested in my brothers. If my husband has experienced X, Y, and Z and has thought nothing should be done or even said about it, how many experiences like that have the other men in my life had? I've had that before. Don't know that anyone told me to suppress stuff, but once the obvious steps have been taken, traumatic stuff just gets compartmentalized. I was molested as a very young child, and after berating some folks at the camp where it happened, it just wasn't something we talked about because what was to say? Most of my family had a similar experience in some other context during their lives. I thought it was a regrettable but not uncommon thing. Didn't cross my mind that this is a big deal till I was in my 20s. How rarely men are given compliments about their appearance, and how even something as simple as "oh you look handsome today" or a colleague saying "I like your tie" can make a man's entire day. I had a boyfriend who was positively beaming when he came home and told me how one of his colleagues complimented his shirt and tie, which he rarely wore, and he went on to step up his work attire because someone finally noticed. He told me no one had ever said that to him outside of his mother, and I realized how little men are complimented on dressing well or looking put together. It made me so sad, because women are always hyping each other up, but men don't seem to do that. It doesn't mean men don't want or need compliments, everyone does, but they seem to so rarely get them that they can literally beat the life out of and slap around their dong, but one tap of the balls and they're on the ground. In fact, some of the lightest tap on the balls can be the most painful. A hard hit hurts, but a light tap at the right angle can make it feel like you're gonna puke. They can make their penis move up and down when it's erected without touching it. Edit. Thanks guys. Now I know it's Kegels. It doesn't have to be erect. The penis itself isn't a muscle, but it's attached at the base to one. If you contract relax said muscle, the penis will go up and down accordingly. I genuinely thought men held their penis when they peed because otherwise it would fly all around with the force of urine going through it. I also believed it was like a fireman's hose and would just spray all over the walls. When they ask you to leave them alone, they absolutely mean it. They don't mean, "leave me alone for 5 minutes" and then start trying to comfort me or overanalyze the situation or get me to talk it out. I had to learn that the hard way. Often for me that means I know I'm in a shit mood right now, and no amount of outside interference will cure that. You'll just get the fallout. However, I know that mood will go away on its own if I get some time to ruminate. How itchy their balls can be sometimes. And being quiet doesn't mean they're mad or thinking about someone else, they're just vibing. Edited to say, holy crap. Didn't expect my comment to get so much attention. Thank you guys. What are you thinking? I'm trying to figure out how many iron smelters I need to make an optimal barrel factory. How often they need to readjust their balls. I rotate mine every 3,000 miles. How much some love to hold hands or be physical with hugs and such. Grew up in a bad environment and many of the male figures in my life were always cold or distant or flat out abusive. Trying to figure out a way to handle it as my body nervous system isn't used to that at all. How freakishly strong they are. My husband was a normal looking dude, didn't go to the gym, but he literally lifted a treadmill into the back of an SUV by himself. Generally true, but it's also much more true for some dudes. I have a coworker that does not look like strong dude. He tried to push something big on a pallet jack that I left the brake on that he didn't realize, and he got about 20 feet before I had to yell at him. He didn't even act like they were on. Meanwhile I could barely move the thing with the brakes on, and I'm a dude with moderate core strength. I will not fuck with that dude. Deleted. Testosterone is a hell of a drug. How easy they can be to please. A plate of food without being asked or a compliment show of admiration in front of other people goes quite a long way. Edit. Wow. I did not expect this to blow up the way it did. Thank you for the awards. When I met my husband, he was a year into a breakup from a woman that expected him to do everything and just be thankful she graced him with her presence. He was really torn down but a very good man. I hope this helps some women and men out there, because I have the life of my dreams with him after several years and having a family. He's become the kind of man that can change the world with his hands tied behind his back, and I really think it is because I spoke it every time I saw something good in him and do things, no matter how tiny, to just let him know I was thinking of him and that he mattered. It really doesn't take much. Bill Burr has a bit where he talks about a time he was working in his garage when he was hot, sweaty, and worn out, and his wife brought him a sandwich, some corn chips, and a cold beer. She sat it down, kissed him in the head and left. He said he still thinks about that sandwich years later. Just how long they're willing to put off going to the doctor specialist. The mental gymnastics done to avoid seeking professional help is astounding. I'll give it 2 more days, and if it isn't gone by then, or at the least slightly less painful, I might consider to maybe start thinking about possibly seeing a doctor. Maybe. Double quote. How they can spend an entire day with a person and not learn a single thing about them. I've known people for years without ever knowing their name. It's kinda strange, cause at a certain point you really ought to know, and you're pretty sure the other guy doesn't know your name either. So you just kinda work with it, cause both parties are too embarrassed to just ask. Do not talk to a man while he's playing video games, if your hope is for him to respond thoughtfully. I feel like this isn't a man-only thing. Like, if you are concentrating on something, would you be able to give thoughtful responses to someone talking to you? If there is a poop stain in the toilet, they will try to aim their pee to hit it. It's really disappointing if we can't fully remove it with a full bladder. How little it takes to entertain them. My boyfriend once spent over an hour throwing rocks into a frozen pond because he liked watching the ice break. I mean, I think it's cool too, but for a whole hour? We have simple needs, lol. Also, when we're just staring into space, we're actually not thinking of anything at all, and when questioned, nothing really is the correct answer. I grew up with dogs and had really poor sex education. I genuinely assumed human penises were like dog penises until I saw one in person and asked, when is it gonna come out? Oh man, I bet that guy really died inside when you said that. This is mostly penises. The men's thread is mostly hair.